Hey everyone. So we're picking up today on page 57. It's where we left off. But just a quick review of pages 53 to 56 from last time. And basically, what happened, if you don't remember, was um, Juror 2 brought up a piece of evidence that just didn't sit right with him. And that had to do with how the knife was used to commit the crime. The testimony said that it was in a downward motion, despite the defendant being 6 inches shorter, and he used the switch knife in a downward motion to commit the crime, which then proceeded to have Juror 3 do a demonstration, and he did it to Juror 8, which you saw in both the text and in the film, and it caused, you know, all the other jurors to, kind of speak up because it got a little too close for comfort. And of course, great job by the playwright, the author here, to use, you know, juror 3 and juror 8 for that moment, because those are our protagonists and our antagonists. So that was, really perfect. Um, and so from there, the downward motion and the way the switch knife was used was questioned. Um, and Juror 5, having his background of where he grew up and his experience, unfortunately for him, as he says, seeing switch knives used, in his backyard and his street. And it was just kind of commonplace in his neighborhood where he grew up to see a switch knife used in a fight or a disagreement. And from that experience, he was able to show that the switch knife is not used in a downward motion, but rather um, underhand. And he demonstrated it in the film. I hope you all took a look at that. So once juror number 5 brought in that brought in his specific experience, that really changed how a lot of jurors were feeling. It kind of changed the whole feeling about that piece of the story for a lot of the jurors. So let's pick up. All right. We were at the top of 57. Here we go. 8. I want you to know, is the kid smart or is the kid dumb? What do you mean? Moving upstage center so that he is standing back of men at upstage side of table. This is a kid who has gone to the reform school for knife fighting. The night of the murder, he bought a knife, a switch knife. It would then take a very stupid kid to go and murder a man, his father, with an instrument that everyone would associate with the kid. I quite agree. He's dumb. However, if he were dumb, then why did he make the kind of wound that an inexperienced man would make with a knife? I'm not sure I understand. To murder someone must take a great emotion, great hatred. He moves over to the left of the foreman. And at the moment, he would handle the knife as best he could. And a trained knife fighter would handle it as he had been trained, underhand. Right? So there's that underhand motion again being talked about with handling the knife. He makes the underhanded motion. A man who had not been trained would go overhand, makes overhand motion. But the kid is being very smart. Everyone knows that he is an experienced knife fighter. So he is smart enough at that moment to make the wound that an amateur would make. That man is a smart man. Smart enough to wipe the fingerprints away, perhaps even smart enough to wait until an L train was going by in order to cover the noise. Now, is the kid smart or is he dumb? He looks around. Hey, now, wait a minute. Well, the woman across the L tracks saw the murder through the L train. So someone in that L train could have seen the murder too. A possibility. But no one did that we know of. It would take an awfully dumb man to take that chance, doing the murder as the train went by. Exactly. A dumb man, a very stupid man, a man swept by emotion. Probably he heard nothing. He probably didn't even hear the train coming. And whoever did murder the father did it as well as he could. So, 8, moving back to his place at the right end of the table, not sitting. The kid is dumb enough to do everything to associate himself with the switch knife, a switch knife murder. And then, a moment after the murder, he becomes smart. The kid is smart enough to make a kind of wound that would lead us to suspect someone else. And yet, at the same instant, he is dumb enough to do the killing as an L train is going by. And then a moment later, he is smart enough to wipe fingerprints away. To make this boy guilty, you have to say he is dumb from 8 o'clock until about midnight. And then about midnight, he is smart 1 second, then dumb for a few seconds, and then smart again. And then once again, he becomes stupid. So stupid that he does not think of a good alibi. Now, is this kid smart or is he dumb? To say that he is guilty, you have to toss his intelligence like a pancake. There is doubt. 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 Beats the table with his fist as he emphasizes the word doubt. So basically, I know that sounds kind of confusing, but basically what 8 is saying is that either you're going to think the kid is smart or you're going to think the kid is dumb. And if you think he's dumb, well, then how could he have done some very smart things like wipe his fingerprints away or, you know, things that somebody that you would think is dumb wouldn't do. But if you think he's smart, right, then why would he do something as dumb as commit the killing as a train is going by when people could see you, right? So there's this 8's point is that there's either you think he's dumb or he's smart, and either way, no matter how you feel, because of the things they're talking about and the way it went down and the boy's actions, supposedly, it creates doubt. And remember, if you're going to convict someone, if the jury is going to give a verdict of guilty, it has to be beyond reasonable doubt. There can't be any doubt, right? But if there is that doubt, then you can't make someone you can't make the verdict of guilty. And so 8's really emphasizing that there's doubt. I hadn't thought of that. And the old man downstairs, on the stand, he swore that it was 15 seconds. He insisted on 15 seconds. But we all agree that it must have been almost 40 seconds. Does the old man lie half the time, and then does he tell the truth the other half of the time? For the kid to be guilty, he must be stupid, then smart, then stupid, and then smart, and so on. And also, for the kid to be guilty, the old man downstairs must be a liar half of the time, and the other half of the time he must tell the truth. You can reasonably doubt. He sits again. There's a moment of silence. So again, 8 kind of lays out his case for why there's doubt and why he should be not guilty. That's really important. 7, breaks the silence. I'm sold on reasonable doubt. I think I am too. I wanted more talk, and now I've had it. Fast. I want another vote. Okay, there's another vote called for. I guess the quickest way is a show of hands. Anybody object? No one does. All right, all those voting not guilty, raise your hands. Jurors 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12 raise their hands immediately. Foreman looks around the table carefully, and then he too raises his hand. He looks around the table, counting silently. 9. Hands go down. All those voting guilty? Jurors 3, 4, and 10 raise their hands. 3. They lower their hands. The vote is 9-3 in favor of acquittal. Or not guilty. Acquittal meaning like acquitted of all the charges are dropped. 10. I don't understand you people. How can you believe this kid is innocent? Look, you know how those people lie. I don't have to tell you. They don't know what the truth is. And let me tell you, 5 gets up from the table, turns his back to it, and goes to the window. So 5 just gets up and just totally is disregarding what 10 is saying and walks over to the window. They don't need any real big reason to kill someone either. You know, they get drunk and bang, someone's lying in the gutter. They don't need any real big reason to kill someone either. You know, they get drunk and bang, someone's lying in the gutter. Nobody's blaming them. That's how they are. You know what I mean? Violent. 9 gets up and goes to window and looks out. He is followed by 11. Human life don't mean as much to them as it does to us. Hey, where are you all going? Look, these people are drinking and fighting all the time, and if somebody gets killed, so somebody gets killed. They don't care. Oh, sure, there are some good things about them, too. Look, I'm first to say that. 8 gets up, and then 2 and 6 follow him to the window. So now everybody's getting up. I've known a few who were pretty decent, but that's the exception. Most of them, it's like they have no feelings. They could do anything. What's going on here? Foreman gets up and goes to the window, followed by 7 and 12. I'm speaking my piece, and you listen to me. They're no good. There's not a one of them who's any good. We better watch out. Take it from me. This kid on trial? 3 sits at the table, toying with the knife as 4 gets up and starts toward 10. All the other jurors have their backs turned on 10. Very symbolic here. Basically everybody who voted not guilty has their back turned to 10 as he's saying his piece. Well, don't you know about them? Listen to me. What are you doing? I'm trying to tell you something. 4 stands over him as he trails off. There's a dead silence. Then 4 speaks softly. I've had enough. If you open your mouth again, I'm going to split your skull. He stands there and looks at him. No one moves or speaks. 10 looks at 4 and then looks down at the table. Softly. I'm only trying to tell you. There's a long pause as 4 stares down at 10. 4. To the jurors at the window. All right, sit down, everybody. They all move back to their seats. When they are all seated, 4 takes a stand behind men on upstage side of table. He speaks quietly. I still believe the boy is guilty of murder. I'll tell you why. To me, the most damning evidence was given by the woman across the street who claimed she actually saw the murder committed. That's right. As far as I'm concerned, that's the most important testimony. All right, let's go over her testimony. What exactly did she say? 4, moving toward the window. I believe I can recount it accurately. She said that she went to bed at about 11 o'clock that night. Her bed was next to the open window, and she could look out of the window while lying down and see directly into the window across the street. She tossed and turned for over an hour, unable to fall asleep. Finally, she turned toward the window at about 12:10, and as she looked out, she saw the boy stab his father. As far as I can see, this is unshakable testimony. That's what I mean. That's the whole case. 4 takes off his eyeglasses and begins to polish them as they all sit silently watching him. Remember, 4 is the guy who's all about the facts. 4 to all of them. Frankly, in view of this, I don't see how you can vote for acquittal. To 12 as he sits again. What do you think about it? Well, maybe. There's so much evidence to sift. What do you mean, maybe? He's absolutely right. You can throw out all the other evidence. That was my feeling. I don't deny the validity of the points that he has made. He motions at 8, meaning the points that 8 has made. Shall we say that on one side of the tracks there is doubt? But what can you say about the story of the woman? She saw it. Two, while he was polishing his glasses, 2 squints at the clock. What time is it? 10 minutes of 6. You don't suppose they'd let us go home and finish it in the morning? I've got a kid with mumps. Not a chance. To 2. Can't you see the clock without your glasses? Not clearly. Oh. Glasses are a nuisance, aren't they? An edge of excitement in his tone. Well, what do you all do when you wake up at night and want to know what time it is? I put my glasses on and look at the clock. I just lie in bed and wait for the clock to chime. My father gave it to me when we were married, my wife and I. It was 10 years before we had a place to put it. To 2. Do you wear your glasses to bed? Of course not. No one wears eyeglasses to bed. The woman who testified that she saw the killing wears glasses. What about her? Did she wear glasses? Of course! The woman wore bifocals. I remember this very clearly. They looked quite strong. That's right, bifocals. She never took them off. Funny, I never thought of that. I think it's logical to say that she was not wearing her glasses in bed, and I don't think she'd put them on to glance casually out the window. She testified that the murder took place the instant she looked out, and that the lights went out a split second later. She couldn't have had time to put her glasses on then. Now, perhaps this woman honestly thought she saw the boy kill his father. He rises. I say that she only saw a blur. How do you know what she saw? Maybe she's farsighted. Looks around. No one answers. Loudly. How does he know all these things? There is silence. Does anyone think there still is not a reasonable doubt? He looks around the room, then squarely at 10. 10 looks down at the table for a moment. Then he looks up at 8. I will always wonder, but there is a reasonable doubt. That's big. 10 just said there's a doubt. 3, loudly. I think he's guilty. Calmly. Does anyone else? Quietly. This is 4, quietly. No, I'm convinced now. There is a reasonable doubt. To 3. You're alone. Foreman. 11 votes, not guilty, 1 guilty. I don't care whether I'm alone or not. I have a right. So now look at the score here, folks. It's 11 for not guilty, and only 3 remains with the guilty vote. Yes, you have a right. They all stare at 3. Well, I told you. I think the kid's guilty. What else do you want? Your arguments. All look at 3 after glancing at 8. I gave you my arguments. We're not convinced. We're waiting to hear them again. We have time. Sits down again. 3 runs to 4 and grabs his arm. So think about it. At this point, 3 is on his own. He's started as the guy who is part of the 11 people who voted guilty, and now he's the only one left. And they're asking for his argument, and he doesn't really have one. Pleading. Listen, what's the matter with you? You're the guy. You made all the arguments. You can't turn now. A guilty man's going to be walking the streets. A murderer. He's got to die. Stay with me. Rising. I'm sorry. I'm convinced. I don't think I'm wrong often, but I guess I was this once. Crosses to the right. There is a reasonable doubt in my mind. We're waiting. 3 turns violently on him, shouting, "You're not going to intimidate me!" They all are staring at 3. "I'm entitled to my opinion!" No one answers him. "It's going to be a hung jury!" Turns abruptly and sits in his chair again. "That's it! There's nothing we can do about that except hope that some night, maybe in a few months, you might get some sleep. You're all alone. It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone." Moving back to the table and sitting. "If it is a hung jury, there will be another trial, and some of us will point these things out to the various lawyers." 3 looks around the table at all of them. As three's glance goes from juror to juror, each one of them shakes his head in his direction. Then suddenly, three's face contorts, and he begins to pound on the table with his fist. He seems about to cry. "All right!" He jumps up quickly and moves downright, his back to all of them as Foreman goes to the door left and knocks. The other jurors now rise. The guard opens the door left and looks in and sees them all standing. The guard holds the door open for them as they all file past and out left. That is, all except 3 and 8. So 3 and 8 are still in the room. The guard waits for them. 8 moves toward the door left, passing at the left center. To 3. They're waiting. 3 sees that he is alone. He moves to the table and pulls the switch knife out of the table and walks over to 8 with it. 3 is holding the knife in approved knife fighter fashion. 3 looks long and hard at Juror 8 and weaves a bit from side to side as he holds the knife with point of it in direction of 8's belly. 8 speaks quietly, firmly. "Not guilty." 3 turns the knife around and 8 takes it by the handle. So he's symbolically handing it over to 8. He's surrendering himself symbolically over to 8 and the not guilty vote. 8 closes the knife and puts it away. "Not guilty." 3 walks out of the room. 8 glances around quickly, sighs, then turns and moves out through the door. The guard goes out, closing the door. Curtain. So there you go. There's 12 Angry Men. Quite the climactic finish, to say the least. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you didn't mind me reading it. I hope I did a good job for you on trying to bring some of the characters to life. So yeah, I mean, there's gonna be an assignment for this section. Make sure you use this audiobook, go back to it, or go back to the files tab and find the text for Act 3. You can read at your own discretion and pace to help you answer some of the questions. All right? Have a good day.